the saying. It's not my saying. It's that everything starts and falls on leadership. You have a parliament. You've had parliaments where the speaker becomes like uses it to fight personal vendetta, to try to please the head of one arm of government, despite the idea that the parliament should check the executive. I don't expect the parliament to check the executive fully, but then I expect them to do it to a certain extent. You don't have that in Uganda. So I hope that in the 12th parliament, there have been a lot of lessons in the 11th parliament. And I've met so many people who are very pessimistic, saying that things won't change. I've seen sometimes where things change. There was a lot of corruption in the OPM at some point, a few decades back or a few years back, and it seems like wait. Let him conclude. It seems like it's not as obvious as it used to be. By that the Prime Minister spends money to buy themselves a Mercedes-Benz management relief program in northern Uganda. You get. So I would expect that the lessons of the 11th Parliament, and the failures were many. Sometimes you learn by your failure. When a kid is learning to walk, sometimes when they keep falling, that is a more important lesson than the steps they make. So for me, I hope that the lessons are learned, that you pass laws that are progressive, that are looking forward 100 years. If you mean it that you want this economy to be at the size of United Arab Emirates, which is about $500 billion economy, then you mean it by the nature of laws you pass. You mean it by the nature of policies you pass. You mean it by playing your role as an anti-corruption agency called Parliament. So if if Parliament really rises up to the occasion, everything else will begin to fall in place. And Honorable has been very important, very critical in saying that this has to be all of us. Yes, but leaders take the lead, you get. So that's the thing that for me shocks me the most in Uganda. When it is failure, they're like, oh, all of us are failing. When it's success, oh, we praise the president, he's doing really well. You get. I think it was Babas you said that the guy takes all the credit and then spreads the blame to others. So like, they always wanted to make it seem like we are failing together. But when it is success, oh, the NRM, we found the economy at this level. The NRM constitutes the highest majority in the parliament. They are most likely going to determine the speaker. I hope that they can mean what they say when they say it's time to fight corruption. It's time to go for economic development, and with more critical policies. Why don't we have a local bank, for instance? All the circles. When I go to Western Uganda, where my wife comes from, but where does it rank among the banks of Uganda?
It's around number 4.
And the first two, the first two or the first three banks in Uganda control about 60%, 70%. So at the end of the day, for me, what I want us to look at are those things, yeah?
The other ratios.
An overhaul of everything. When we go back to our education, yeah? Like, there are so many universities in this country. Do we need them? Like, do we need all the people who are coming out saying that they are lawyers? Do we need all of them? Why are we still importing plastic? Why is it that some Chinese man is coming here to make plastic, and yet we can't have technical institutions? And so the Nakao Vocational School, your next goal is to be the one that produces us all the plastic in this country. So that is the task that Parliament has before it. I hope that it can rise up to the occasion. First, that task, heads on. We are Ugandans. We've fought a lot of things. We are the guys who chased Amin, right? One of Africa's last dictators. We fought HIV in the 80s when no one else was able to do it. We fought Ebola. When Ebola went to Western Uganda recently, it ravaged the entire region. But we fought Ebola in 2002 with much less than those guys had, with much less knowledge, with much less technology. So I always believe that we Ugandans, if we really mean something, we can really get out there and stamp our foot on the ground and get the things done. That is the challenge that I think the 12th Parliament is going to have.
All right. I guess very quickly on the issue of Parliament.
I want to start from, I have opined on this show before that organizations take the character of their CEOs. So Parliament's CEO is the Speaker. So I want to start my submission from that point. I was just checking the online archives, and I discovered that on the 6th of April 2024, I wrote an open letter to the Right Honorable Anita Mong. I will read about 5 sentences from that letter, and then I will just wind up. I said that at the dawn of Saturday, 6th April 2024, I felt strongly that I should write to you because you have risen against all odds through the sheer power of will, shrewdness and luck to become the 4th most powerful person in Uganda after the trio of generals Museveni, Sale and Kainerugaba. While the trio are blood relatives and their power was or is inevitable, yours did not come on a silver platter. I commend you for attaining this feat. It is no mean feat. So, and then as I was concluding at the end, there is a point it was point number 5. I said, while you have become the 4th most powerful person in Uganda, there once was a Mama Mbabazi who was the third most powerful after the two senior Kaguta generals, the siblings. But as he soon found out, the third position was given to him as a poisoned chalice. Today, he is just another senior citizen and retired politician. Things fall apart. Better to trim your pride than to let time and circumstance to cut you down to size. They are cruel. Now, you see, I have been submitting here that President Museveni castrated Parliament. You see, when you get power, at first, after you have attained power, the first thing you think about is, how do I consolidate power so that I can sustain it? So you go into consolidation mode. Now, what are the trade-offs in consolidation of power? Is crushing alternative centers of power is one of those trade-offs. Yeah, even if you mean well, as long as you want to stay in power longer, you will have to crush alternative centers of power. So it is inevitable for a person who wants to stay long in power to become an autocrat. It's inevitable. You have to become an autocrat. Now, I avoid using the word dictator because I think it's mostly used as a misnomer. But you become an autocrat because that's the only way you will stay in power. You cannot be becoming more popular as time goes by. As George submitted here, no, I should mention honorable. Yeah, as he submitted earlier before. When you stay in power, you find yourself with a lot of contradictions. You start contradicting your earlier stances. You start actually undoing some of your achievements and stuff like that. So, as Museveni has stayed in power for so long, he has had to kill. I am using the word kill deliberately. All other institutions where the Constitution had placed power or a semblance of power. So Parliament was one such institution where power was placed. So certain power that belongs to the citizens of Uganda was domiciled in the institution of Parliament. But he has completely crushed it. Now it looks like it's an appendage of the Museveni family. That is why you see that the word of the crown prince seems like the vote on the speakership has already been taken. The public sentiment is that now the Right Honorable Anita Among is out. and now people are saying Oboth should actually go and iron his suit. Yeah? You see, so that means that we are not in a functional democracy. We are in a pretend democracy. You said I should stop using a quasi-democratic facade, and I have obliged. I'm now saying, calling it a pretend democracy. So what we have is a monarchy disguising as a pretend democracy. So you cannot have functional institutions.
All
so
right.
when you ask me, what do we expect from the coming parliament? I have already killed that question. I have told you we don't have functional institutions. Parliament as it is today is just another employment agency, a government employment agency, like you would see Equal Opportunities Commission, whose outcome, whose impact on our society we do not see. So it is good that Parliament has given jobs to some of our brothers and sisters, but it does not have impact on the national psyche. It does not have impact on the national economy. It does not have impact on the socio-economic progress of the Ugandan people. So what I'm saying is I cannot pretend to sit here and say...
Ronald, how does an agency which creates employment fail to have an
it gives livelihood.
impact on the economy?
No, not all,
Basic.
wait. Not all employment is productive in the economy. In economics, we have what we call disguised unemployment, underemployment, and all these kind of
You
things.
said it.
But you earn, okay, good enough. When you earn,
As you wind
spend.
your point.
Yeah, good enough. When you earn money, you will go and spend, and of course, you keep the economy running.
All right.
Yeah, fine.
Let's move on to...
So the point is, for me, I don't expect anything more from Parliament as long as President Museveni is still in power. And what we are seeing from the Crown Prince that is lying in the wings is not giving us any hope that Parliament will reclaim its glory. In fact, for him, he's even on record having said Parliament is a bunch of clowns.
Yes.
Yeah, he said he would arrest all of them. So, from where I sit as a Ugandan, Parliament will not have impact as long as President Museveni is still on his project of building a monarchy. So, if we somehow, by whatever means, we end up with another president outside the Museveni family, perhaps we can revisit the conversation.
All right, let's go to Honorable Judge Musisi. Honorable Musisi, your take on this issue. This is the institution where you're going to be serving for the next 5 years. As you take the first step into that particular house, what should we expect from you? But also you have a very important issue of choosing who your leaders are during the first sitting, which will be on the 25th of this month.
Well, first of all, I don't want to sound as pessimistic as Ronald. I want to look at it in a broader context. First of all, Parliament is a political institution. Secondly, Parliament is a constitutional institution. Thirdly, in any liberation struggle or in any country which is having democratic struggles, and I'm using my words very carefully, to not to fall for the or in countries with fragile democracies like we're having, which is almost bordering on a military dictatorship. I don't want to call it a monarchy. No, I think it's bordering on a military rule, because military rule countries, it's where power derives from the military. Countries where power derives from the military. There will always be struggles, these contestations between democratic forces and those who want to assume power in one center. So, if you look at our politics, having drawn that Parliament is a political institution, and certainly it will be affected by the politics outside it. Our Parliament has been a reflection of the politics going on and our democratic and governing struggles that have, of course, degenerated over time. If you look at it from the sense of, for instance, the levels of tolerance, the levels of freedom of expression, the levels of civic competence, the levels of civil rights and liberties, even outside Parliament, they have degenerated. My brother, Godwin, works with a civil society organization whose accounts are frozen. I don't know that its license is frozen. I think the only civil society outfit now that makes some noise about civil rights is the Uganda Law Society. And it's only doing that because of its statutory. Maybe if it was a civil society, it would have been had its accounts frozen and license withdrawn. So Parliament has certainly fallen victim. If the president is in exile, Parliament is certainly a victim of the political misgovernance and degeneration of democracy. Does it mean that it's useless? No. Just like you'd find that I don't think because Toko is in Agora, and we have seen a reduction of the number of civil rights activists speaking out, it means Toko should keep quiet because civil society is dead. I think that as long as there's any one voice. So that's why I started from the point that I don't sound as pessimistic as Egesa, that even the 11th Parliament, with all its challenges and all its problems, there are people who, and there are issues, even what not only on the floor, but even issues that have contributed to our democratic struggles. Because I look at it as a democratic space is fought for. This is a struggle for forces for democracy and those against it, those who want to assume power in a controlled military environment. And that's the struggles we are fighting for. So I don't want to sound like Leonard, who says, this is dead, then what? Should we wait for fate? Or should we go fasting? Should we go? So what should we do? I think that every democracy-seeking voice, including Leonard, you use whatever space outside in Parliament and whatever space you can to ensure that you advance the cause, including the microphone that we're using here. The media has its challenges in Uganda today. We know that the freedom of expression in the media has almost trickled. But then there are all those voices which are struggling. Anderson, you're among them. Fortunately, you've not stopped some of us from coming. So, I don't know for how long. So the issue is that as long as there's a single person who is still agitating for what is right, it would be a step in the right direction. Secondly, for some of us who believe, it even comes many times when they say, why do you go to the judiciary which is dead? Like some people say. Why do you take courts to court? cases to court when you know you're predictable. And I always tell people that I've been in a lot of public interest litigation. Godwin knows that. Sometimes we even go to public interest cases not to win the case. Sometimes for purpose of setting the record straight. Sometimes for purpose of documentation. Sometimes it's for purposes of future jurisprudence. So the question would be, if I have not taken a grievance to court, what have I done about it? Have I decided to pray? Have I decided to go to the shrine to handle it?
Just fold my hands.
Or just fold my hands and wait for the nation. So for me, I think that democracy is fought for, and we should use whatever space to fight for it. Then second, on the issue of the leadership, I want to agree with Mr. Egesa that indeed the quotation that I wrote here, that organizations take the character of their leaders. I know that leadership is key in every institution, and I know that the leadership of parliament is even so key because the speaker and the deputy speaker are put in such a privileged position. They're the custodians of the rules of parliament. They're the custodians. They set the tone. In fact, in a matter which reached the Constitutional Court interpretation regarding the conduct of a deputy speaker in this outgoing parliament, that is the case of Honorable Zake versus Attorney General, where he was chased from being a commissioner. The lead judge there, Justice Bamugemerere, said a speaker is in a position of a judge, a judicial officer. You are supposed to be fair. You're supposed to listen. Even if you are coming, never mind that we're in a multi-party dispensation, but a Commonwealth speaker should not be, when they sit in the chair of a speaker, he should not be seen as a party functionary. We don't need an NUP speaker or an NRM speaker in that house. We need the speaker of the house who is fair, who is impartial. And you may even be partial, but the point is, let you observe the rules. That is the very basic, both the national laws and the rules of parliament. And I think that is the kind of speaker we want. We don't need someone who is going to. The other day, Honorable Senyo was reminding them during the passing of the Protection of Sovereignty Bill that yes, the majority may have their say eventually when it comes to a vote, but the minority should also be heard. We've had sometimes problems where the rules require that if a speaker makes a ruling, they should give a reason and court even cite the provision from which that ruling emanates from, where sometimes there are no rulings on points raised, where sometimes rulings are made which seems to be uprooted from wherever. So the issue is we just need a person, and I'm mindful that our politics outside parliament has also degenerated. I'm not going to be very optimistic to say that we're going to get a speaker like we had Wapa. So, because, many times we have this, that we know the 6th parliament did that, the 7th parliament did this. No, the politics was better than it is now.
Yes.
The levels of tolerance were better than they were now. The other day, I think it was either the 10th parliament, where the Honorable Kadaga, who was presiding, asked that the First Lady, in her capacity as a minister, should come and on the floor, demanded that she should come next week and present this. Then we fast forward to the 11th Parliament, where the First Lady doesn't even have to come to the Appointments Committee. The Appointments Committee just so
they interact with the papers.
The levels of tolerance outside Parliament have degenerated, and as a political institution, without doubt, Parliament has been affected.
All right. Spectrum X on Radio 1 FM. Your quick thoughts. This is a house where you're going to be working for the next 5 years, just like the Honorable George Musisi. Let's hear your quick thoughts on what we should expect.
Thank you, Kenneth. And like you indicated at the beginning of this segment, you indeed said that about 527 members of parliament are sworn in and they are officially members of parliament. And that figure includes me, representing Ruchiga, and I want to thank the people of Ruchiga for trusting me with their votes. And I also want to congratulate my land colleague, Honorable Musisi, for also successfully taking oath as a member of parliament for Chira municipality. Now, I have heard what my colleague on the panel, Mr. Toko, said, and I must say that he has quite high expectations of Parliament, and also Mr. Egesa on what the criticism that he leveled against Parliament and the leadership generally. And I want to say that the Parliament that we have, or that Ugandans will ever have, or any other country, comes from the people, both quality-wise and quantity-wise.
I don't agree.
Not quantity-wise.
For example, now,
First go ahead.
of course, the quantity has an effect on the quality as well. So the two go hand in hand. So Godwin, I think you need to, Kenneth, you need to protect.
I'll need to chain his mouth.
Yes,
I'll think afterwards.
because I think when he was speaking,
You're
he was,
protected, Honorable. Please continue.
So we have, for example, fast forward, we have 27% of our people are still in multidimensional poverty, and they are constrained in accessing education, health services, and many other services in this country. We have over 40% of our people who are outside the money economy, and we have about 12 million people in Uganda who cannot ably read and write. That's really about 26% of the literacy rate that we have in this country. And we have about, the study that was done in 2021 about the success and the deficiency in the UPA system, where about 40% of the learners had deficiencies or had proficiency problems in reading and writing. So these are the people from which we have elected this parliament. So I'm trying to actually paint a picture here that whereas it is very important to be optimistic, and I'm a very optimistic person, we have to be very mindful of some of the constraints that we have. First of all, we are going to be having a very large parliament, and the quality of debating would definitely be significantly affected, because think about a debate of 527 people. 29 people. If each member of parliament was to be given 5 minutes, those are how many years before we actually hear from the last person. So we have to be very mindful that there will be those constraints. And then the systems within which parliament works certainly need to be improved so that the committees are functional very well, so that if I don't get talking time on the floor of the House, I will certainly participate actively within other parliamentary systems like the committees and many other forums that can possibly translate into effective legislation. That said, it is very important for our listeners to understand that despite what has been talked about Parliament can still be an effective vehicle for socio-economic transformation through appropriate legislation, appropriation, and oversight. And I still insist that if Parliament is used well, first of all by we members who are going to be part of this Parliament, and the other stakeholders, I think Parliament can contribute significantly to the development of this country, because you have had, it is an interim, it's the one that approves all these projects and financing for everything that happens in this country. It's the one that is responsible for oversight, sometimes not very effective, because you just have one parliament, and to oversee everything that is happening in this country sometimes becomes very problematic. It is an anti-corruption agency like we've talked about. So there's a lot of potential for parliament to, in my view, contribute to development of this country in so many ways. Some of my colleagues here want us to look at politics as casually, I should say. Why do I say this? When we start criticizing how parties choose their speakers and leaders, we are entitled as citizens, but we also must understand that when you have passed through a successful election, like the NRM party has in this particular case, the party and the leaders of this party then have a mandate to choose the leadership of Parliament. And that is, I think, for us where we have a problem. I often hear people saying, okay, you have gone to Changwazi, you are going to be fixed, you are going to be indoctrinated, that if they say, vote this other person, that's what you are going to do without even questioning anything. But we all know that's how possibly multi-party politics works. That if I have campaigned on a party platform, I campaigned on NRM party platform, I campaigned alongside the president. He became the president, and became the member of parliament. We all had one manifesto. So if the president and the chairman of the party called me or called us collectively and said, you know what, for our manifesto to be implemented very well, for us to have a successful 5-year term, my thinking as a vision bearer for this party, my thinking is that Mr. Ronald Egesa should be the Speaker of Parliament. It is a suggestion or proposition that I am inclined to give a thought. Because we are looking at this as a party. Of course, I know there will be,
Has it ever been defined?
That the son, the daughter, the grandfather, and that, what people talk about. I know all that feeds into that dimension. But then ultimately, majority of us who are in this particular group, and possibly who would be in other groups, some of the decisions that we make should be understood and should be analyzed within their proper context. Because if we do not, then we start thinking that the fact that NRM won elections and has majority members of parliament, that is inconsequential, that people should be looking at things the way they want. So, I'm very optimistic, yet again, that the NRM party, with the guidance of our chairman and president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, shall identify somebody who's going to be the speaker for the 12th parliament. And when they do so, and process the same names through established structures of NRM, SEC, and then to the caucus, the 12th parliament shall have a speaker. And of course, our hope, your hope, and mine should be the speaker that we shall have should be that speaker that will be part of the story of a positive change in the parliament that each of the Ugandan aspires.
Can I give you
Of course,
information?
Let him conclude his point.
Of course, I am saying this as a newcomer to parliament. I have not been in parliament. I do not want to answer any question regarding how things have
I
been.
just want to give you
or whatever.
information.
Let him conclude.
But-
Let him conclude. I'll give you an
But
opportunity.
my thinking, whichever processes that are here, formal and informal, as long as they stream through the established structures and because I will have a say, will become the speaker, because I will be participating in a caucus, and we shall debate this, and we shall take a vote. And ultimately, the person that we will have chosen through the NRM caucus shall be the person that will be inclined to vote on 25th of this month. So some of these are political processes that can be well understood within the political context of multi-party politics. Of course, I know some would want to have it the other way, but I'm quite sure that my land friend George Musisi, in NUP, they would also have had a similar. They also have.
No, they already did it with the election management committee.
No, the lead of
managed the
opposition.
election process.
The lead of opposition. They also have so many
Managed
people
guided democracy.
who want. They also have their people complaining that they have been left out here and there. So we are all human beings, and we have so many interests at play in this particular question. That there are those interests that are so personal. So I would want to be the speaker, come rain and shine. But there are people who are saying, okay, yes, you might want to be the speaker, but as a party, we also think this one can be a speaker. So if my feelings have been hurt because what has been decided is against my personal interest, it creates some little bit of comfort. And that happens in DP, that happens in FDC, that happened in NUP, still that happens in NRM. But for me, and concluding on this matter before I ask you a question, is that the anticipation, the outcome of this process we are talking about, which might actually start as informal, should take us through a process that will give us a credible speaker for the 12th parliament who shall lead this institution to the betterment of each and every Ugandan.
All right.